Hey everybody, David Duford here. I'm with Trent Terzuski. He is a new agent at the Dig Agency in our free lead program. And the reason I have him on here is that he wrote 24,228 AP in the month of July. And we're here to overview what he's done to be as successful as he has as a newer agent. So we're going to talk about how he got into the business, why he works with the Dig Agency, and then talk about what's good and bad about the business of selling final expense over the phone. The purpose of this, of course, is to give you guys transparency. If you're thinking about joining our agency or just the industry at large, what it's really like. So Trent, welcome. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm fantastic. And again, thank you so much for being willing to jump on here.
Yeah,
So
no problem.
what got you into the insurance business and why did you join the Dig Agency?
So I spent about 11 years at a large transportation provider. So they're one of the largest
Okay.
trucking companies in North America. So I was in a inside sales type role and selling the train transportation aspect of the business. So that's what I was doing previously. And then kind of once COVID happened, I was working from home for that with them. And then once COVID happened, they wanted and it was kind of winding down at the back end of COVID, they wanted to bring us back into the office, right?
Right. Yeah.
So then I kind of got used to it, right? So then I started looking around for other opportunities. So then I did leave that company and I became a transportation broker. So
Okay.
then I was
Yeah.
dealing with all kinds of modes like flatbed, refrigerated equipment, stuff like that, all different modes, still train stuff as well. And so then I was doing that for a while, and then we went into a transportation recession, which we're actually still in.
Really?
So the transportation recession is still going on. It's like the longest transportation recession that they've seen,
Wow.
even since 08, 09, stuff like
Wow.
that. So
Wow.
yeah, so at when I was being that transportation broker in that other company, I eventually got laid off. We went through like I was like three round I think the fourth round of layoffs I got laid off.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so I stuck around for a while, but I knew it was coming, right? I knew it wasn't going well, right? So then in February of this year is when that happened. I made the transition to insurance, and I kind of looked at all the industries out there and just saw where the most money was, and insurance was definitely at the top of the list.
Right. So you got into insurance. Did you get into final expense right away? If not, what were you doing and why did you end up at final expense?
Well, I just wanted to focus on one product and get really good at what I was doing. And so obviously I started with final expense. I haven't jumped into other avenues, but I would like to eventually get into Medicare and stuff like that in the
Right.
future.
What about final expense attracted you initially? Like one product is good. Like we should, as new, if you're a new agent out there, like focusing on one thing is critical. It doesn't have to be final expense, but why final expense in this case?
It's a fairly simple concept to understand. It's not like some of those other complex products. There's all kinds of different little things to them, like IULs and stuff like that. I mean, there's all kinds of products out there, but the final expense is a simplified issue product, and it's very easy to get off the ground running pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I'll
I
add
shouldn't
that
say it's easy, but it's it's a
simple, but
simple
not
product.
easy.
Exactly. Exactly.
For the sake of the audience, I'll add a few things. So what I like final expense because it's simplified issue, like Trent says, and what that means is there's no medical exams. I don't have to get Mildred to pee in a cup or take her blood and then sit around for weeks to get a decision. Like we get a decision ideally 9 out of 10 times on the phone on that very first call. And in the sales world, if you've never done sales before, this is what's called a one call close, where the initial call you make is the concluding I'm selling them and taking their money call, right? And that's good because like I don't know how the trucking business is, but there may be a sales cycle before you get and you close the deal that could be weeks or months long. Whereas in
Absolutely.
final expense, it's immediately. So it's a sale type of business where you don't have to worry about service as much, but it's all activity driven to get people on the phone. And that's great because the money flows faster because of that, as opposed to like Medicare, which is getting a great product, but it tends to be a residual based product that pays better over years versus final expense, which is the higher first year income. So just a couple of things to throw out to the audience. So why did you join the Jig Agency? Was it your first choice? Were you looking at other agencies? What kind of sealed the deal for you?
Well, when I was looking into jobs in the insurance field, I did have my resume out there on, I don't know if it was LinkedIn or Indeed or something like that, and I got approached by one of the MLM type companies. And I almost signed the contract that he sent over to me. I did almost sign it, right? So and I was like, no, there's something wrong about this. This doesn't feel right to me. So I did a little bit more due diligence and kind of looked around and found you on YouTube and looked at the Facebook pages and things like that to kind of see who has a good reputation in the
Ah, okay.
industry. And
Gotcha.
you were definitely one of the top people out there.
So did you have like that funny feeling, like that intuition, like there's something wrong with this, like as far as the MLM goes, or is that what happened, or why did you put the
Yeah, I
brakes
mean,
on him?
of course, he was a nice guy, and I mean, I think he believed his system was good, and I do think that. But yeah, and I watched some of the videos that they had put out, and there was just like an unbelievable amount of hype and stuff like that.
Right.
Uh, it's a video at their sales conference or something like that, and it's just,
Sure.
I don't know, it just seemed too good to be true, I guess.
Yeah, and again, same idea here for the sake of the audience. What a lot of new agents don't know in the life insurance space, the big players, the ones that are writing like 100 million plus, a lot of the times they're an MLM. And what we mean by MLM is multi-level marketing. They recruit people usually on the basis of recruiting other people, and that's kind of a continual process, just like in an MLM, selling Herbalife or whatever. And the problem to the agent is that in many cases, the agent, they're sold bad leads that are marked up through the roof. So the agent is the person who's getting monetized by the company, meaning you have to go into debt with crap leads because you got to have leads to sell. And you don't know that they're taking advantage of you by overcharging on the leads, which are really just names in a phone book, incidentally. Or you get a really low commission because you're like recruiting people to recruit. It's harder to keep people, and it's just a lot of raw and not substantive training. And so advice would be, again, for anybody who's new watching this, just make sure you vet your agency you're looking for, ask questions, talk to people who work for the company, get a feel for what it's like. Because man, you may have joined and then been in the wrong spot, spent a bunch of money, and then found out, like then be down 5 or 10 grand. It happens every day in this business, So it's good that
Yeah.
you figured that out. So
Hmm.
you're selling over the phone. What do you like selling over the phone? Like what's cool about selling over the phone versus I guess I don't know if you ever sold in person, but you get what I'm saying. Like what are the advantages of telesales?
Yeah, and it's one of the pretty much the reason I wanted to do a job like this, right? And yeah, so I love it. I can work from home, which is great, having that flexibility with the family and stuff, and being able to kind of build my own schedule essentially. And when I want to work, I just jump on the computer and we dial through the dialer. It's called Kixie is our dialer that we use, and yeah, I can work when I want. It's endless, really, the amount outside. You can't work outside of the TCPA
Right.
hours and everything like that, but you can you can work as much as you want, right? So that's the nice thing, and you don't have to go in home, obviously. And I never did it, but I've heard some
You're
stories,
missing
right?
out, man. But it's
Yeah,
cool. You don't have to drive. It's like, where do you live? At what state?
Green Bay, Wisconsin area.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Green Bay, it's probably somewhat rural. Like if
It
you were a
is.
face-to-face agent, you'd have to probably travel 2 hours north, 2 hours south,
Yeah,
brave the winter and the snow at that time of year. Like you don't
yeah,
have to do that selling at home. You just literally get up, go to your office, and start getting on the dialer. I mean, it's super
exactly.
convenient. It's awesome.
Yeah,
And
yep,
you're also in our free leads program, right? So
yes.
why did you go into free leads versus going the route of buying leads at a higher commission?
Just knowing pretty much nothing about the industry coming into it, I mean, it was a no-brainer for me. It was going to be a really hard pill to swallow, I think, buying leads when I knew absolutely nothing.
Right.
That
Gotcha.
was that was my take on it.
So you felt like it was a better, how do I say, as a safer bet to play.
Safer entrance into the industry. Yeah,
Gotcha.
for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah. Which 100% agree. I would say too, you know, psychologically, and I see this, we recruit people who want to buy their own leads too,
Yeah.
but I see this on that side, like agents get wigged out by having to go out and spend money on leads, and it affects their performance. It affects their psychological state. And this all sounds really stupid, but it's true. Like there's
Hmm.
an emotion when you put your life savings on the line. And for 90% of agents, it's just better not even going there and just having a simple solution to get on a dialer, make sales, make some money, granted at a smaller commission, but with zero financial investment.
And there's a system in place, right?
Yeah,
I'm stepping into a already there system. I don't have to build it, nothing like that.
right. So we talked about some of the good. What are some of the bad things about final expense? Like seriously, I mean, I want our audience to know like what is not so good about it.
Yeah. Well, there's sometimes where you maybe just can't connect with people. Like there might be a day where you might not have any sales. I mean, that does happen. And it's few and far between, but it does happen. And you'll be dialing all day. You won't get anyone and you might be close on a couple of sales here and there, or you might get to that
Yeah,
spot. Like another kind of thing that does happen is sometimes you might get on the phone with the prospect and you might be in an application, but maybe you're in a certain app that isn't super friendly to maybe some of our clients who are typically
right.
elderly.
Yeah,
And so maybe they can only use an email. Well, they don't have an email. What do you do?
yeah,
It's really some of that kind of stuff is frustrating at times, but that's few and far between. Most of our clients are fairly tech savvy, but you do get those times where you're in a tough spot.
yeah. And the reason I bring up the bad side of the business is there's no such thing as a business that's all good. Like no matter
Exactly.
what you do in life, there's going to be a mixture of things you like about it and things you hate about it, right? And
Yep.
it's the key is to find the thing that the bad is manageable, right? And you can
Yep.
still do and go to work every day and hit your goals and make the money you need.
Yep.
So last question before we wrap it up again, Trent, thank you so much for doing this. What piece of advice would you give any new agent considering this business, like, when it comes to joining an agency or picking a product, like whatever kind of comes to mind, what kind of advice would you give?
I mean, I think the way I did it was pretty smart and pretty. I mean, just to get into the industry, just to find the vet your agency and make sure that you're going with the right agency, right? Make sure you do all your due diligence, type them in Facebook, all that stuff if you're thinking about joining them, and and then picking that one product. Like final expense is pretty much a no-brainer for the product to pick if you're going into the industry just not knowing or not like me just starting over, right?
Yeah.
And so I think just picking that one product and then finding the right people to connect with. And I mean to completely change industries, I think the way I did it, I think was
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, and that's a good point. You could have stuck with trucking. You probably have connections and you probably have
Yeah,
places to go. And
for sure.
hey, so I appreciate you trusting us, and I'm glad we came through, with taking
Yeah.
a huge leap like that, because it's even with free leads, it's a risk. You're leaving behind the industry you've been in.
Yeah,
So
I got a bunch of worthless information in my head now about trucking, right?
yeah, yeah, right. That's okay. I've made a pivot earlier in my life, and it's the long term we're looking at, right? So
Exactly.
hopefully we're here along together. So Trent,
Yep,
thank you
yep.
so much for doing this. I appreciate your work and your effort. And those
Yeah,
of you
thanks,
who are
Dave.
watching at home, if you're interested in learning more about our agency, just go to daviddufour.com. There's an overview video. There's an FAQ selection of videos. Watch all that. It'll answer everything. We want to be as transparent and open about how we work so you can decide if it's a good fit or not. And then at that point, we do a live Q&A twice a week. You can attend, ask us questions live. And then we do have an application process to go through to make sure that the fit is mutual, because we don't want you to join and then find, oh, this is bad. And then you waste your time and waste our time. So again, Trent, everybody else, thank you for watching. Take care.
All right, thank you.